welcome to the first video that I've done in like a really long time. I tried to do some videos way back when, certainly not under the auspices of my podcast, which is why I'm assuming most of you have found this video. But just for those that don't know me, I'm a big grumpy gamer. I do a podcast based on Steamforge's game Guild Ball. We've not done many episodes. We're very inconsistent with episodes, but it's allowed us the opportunity to do quite a lot of different stuff doing the podcast, and that has included reviewing some new models that are coming out. These are the rookie models for the Free Cities Draft, a community event that Steamforge ran last year, and the models are coming out now. They're not all coming out at the same time, but what we have got this time, which is slightly different to normal, it hasn't happened before, is Steamforged have sent a example or basically a free model to some of us to review the material, because and just going into a sort of like a very quick overview of what's been going on with Steamforged, they had a number of complaints about their resin figures. What you've got in front of you, even though the light quality isn't great, I'm stuck in the corner of my living room on my painting desk, and the natural light coming in here is not perfect. But if I turn on my my overhead light like so, you'll see that that's not actually giving you much better contrast anyway. So at the moment I'm avoiding using that while I record. Sorry, it's got a bit dark. There we go. I'll work out a better rig at some point, because I do want to do some more videos in the long run. Partly painting. I've got some God tier upstairs which I want to do some recording of, and I'm going to do some stuff with the painting. Anyway, I digress, and fairly standard form. Two models in front here are the SteamCon Obulus and the Morn figure, which is both of these are from the Morticians Guild. The model I'm going to show you in a little bit is from the Morticians Guild as well, and these use the older resins. Morn is actually slightly different, and I'll be able to sort of show you why in a bit. So the model itself, I'm going to just see if this works. Come on, focus. No, it doesn't want to. Fine. Right, so the Morticians models, obviously the biggest problem with them, in order to show you any sort of detail and the like, they are black in colour, which doesn't always bode well for sort of focusing on these sorts of cameras. There we go, that's not too bad. So the detail I have on this model is really good. The issues that some people had were with things like bubbles or pockets, and in both cases on my two models here, and in fact all of my resin morts, because I got the morts in resin, these were fine. I didn't have any serious issues in terms of mismolds, although Morn here does have some, and will need cleaning up when I finally get around to painting her. And the other main issue that they had was, or that people have had with these, is how fragile they are in terms of how brittle they can be. It was generally viewed that putting the colour into the resin was causing the problem from a fan's perspective, but I don't believe that's true. But the actual resin itself was a relatively brittle. Again, not something I experienced too much of. So for me, I had issues with things like the shaft of spears. They because they were quite thin, just a slight knock could cause them to snap. Things like daggers in hands, again, where the resin would be particularly thin, would tend to be brittle. But for the vast majority of the models, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a problem whatsoever for me. But there were a lot of issues in the past. So let's take away Obulus. What I have got here is one of the rookies. So this is Gaffer. Gaffer is the Mortician's rookie model. He's a fantastic model. Again, I don't know if I can get any focus. Oh, that's not too bad. He is lovely. This is as he came out the pack. I have not done anything here, so I'll go through some of the things I have spotted with them. The main thing from my perspective is the material looks so much different. Morn here, when I've got her in my hands, when I'm moving her around, when I'm doing stuff with her, she feels quite fragile, and that might be just partly due to the size of the model. But the resin itself feels kind of almost chalky or dry under the fingers. The Gaffer model feels like plastic. I don't know how they've done resin that actually just feels like plastic, and on top of the feeling like plastic, it actually has that plastic shine. Now I don't know if that's just the mold release, so I am going to give him a wash before I paint him just to see if there's anything in that. But as it happens, through a painting contest at a tournament I went to recently, I actually also have another resin, one of the newer ones again. So this is the limited edition version of Plowman, which still doesn't have plowshares, but in either case, the resin on these two models is very similar. The resin on the Plowman, it's again that slightly plasticky feel, slightly shiny look. So again, I'm going to potentially have to clean him up or wash him before I paint him up. So here he is. What do I think about the material? I think the material is amazing. The quality of the casting is brilliant. I don't know if they have changed the way that they've modeled these things to have deeper recesses. If they have, it's worked out really well. If they haven't, then I would assume it's because the material itself is picking up the detail better than it has done before. The sculpt itself is just brilliant. Whoever did this sculpt, it's beautiful. It looks very, very similar to the artwork for Gaffer. If I've got time, I will splice that in. If I haven't, then bear with me and go and find the artwork, because it is lovely, lovely artwork. And I have not found mold lines. I have found flash. So I have around his feet this really fine, thin haze of resin around each of these spots, and I'm fairly certain that that's going to come off really, really easily. But that's the only thing I found, is that very thin mesh that you get around where the mold lines were, but the actual underlying mold lines, I can't see them. I really can't. So this must be just the fine stuff that's got in between the layers of the mold. I mean, beyond that, I'm going to spray this up, zenithal it so that I can see the detail, potentially show you that stage, and then I'm going to get on with painting this, and I will hopefully show you a finished result either in this video, or there will be one coming later on which has my full team, including Gaffer, including Morn. I've already got my converted obulus that I've done, so I won't paint up that one, but I'll paint up those two models. And then, yeah, later on down the line there'll definitely be a video of all of them. I just need to get the appropriate bases for them and put them all together. So that's it for now. I'll see if I can get on and get any more of this stuff done and show you some further development of this model later. Okay, so a couple of days later, I've got to the point now where I have done a zenithal highlight on the new model. Having discussed previously about the quality of the material, talked about that shine that's on there. So after a brief wash, that wasn't going away, so it looks like it's something to do with the material, slightly more shiny. I'll just bring this in so you can see it. Okay, there he is with the zenithal. I am going to do some photos, I think, just to sort of show him off a little bit more, in a little bit more detail. But ultimately he has come out exceptionally nice. Quality of that cast is just, it's perfect in comparison to sort of some of the stuff I've seen before. But that said, once you obviously get the models set up, for painting, there isn't a massive visual difference. The Morn model looks very similar in terms of quality once the actual zenithal highlighting is on there. That said, what I am kind of noticing in terms of this sort of stuff is the Morn model is very shaky on here. I'm quite gingerly to touch this. I've only glued down 1 foot. Normally I'd pin, but both of these models have quite small feet, so I haven't pinned either of them. I've just stuck a single foot onto the cork. It will slice out quite easily, but I am going to have to be careful with the Morn one, I think, just because of how shaky she is. Now she's obviously got thinner limbs, so that might be part of it, but the Gaffer model feels much more safe in terms of the wobble. Like the model's going to be able to cope with it a bit more, whereas the Morn one is going to be obviously quite a lot more of a risk. I'm going to be painting these at some point soon. It's certainly not going to be something I'm going to be able to show you this week, but if you want to know more about Gaffer and my opinions on the rookie models that are coming out, please go and listen to the Rookie podcast, which will either be released the same day this video is or the day after, depending on how quickly I can edit this video. But in terms of the miniatures, I hope you got to see a little bit. As I say, I'll take some photos and cut them in so you can see. This, I have to say, the quality of the model is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to painting it. Hopefully I can do it some justice, and yeah, I'll hopefully see you at some tournaments where I might be starting to play some Morts. I think I haven't completely decided yet, but there's a good chance. Okay, right, catch you around.